You know, Selena, it's crazy to think about how much of a difference our everyday choices can make. The International Energy Agency says that 55% of the reductions needed to cut all greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 are tied to what we do daily, like driving.
Absolutely. And that's why electric vehicles are such a game changer. But I get why some people hesitate to make the switch. Charging can still feel like a hassle for a lot of people. Did you know that more than 2/3 of consumers say the biggest barrier to buying an electric vehicle is the lack of charging stations?
I know, but there's some good news. Governments and businesses are really stepping up. With initiatives like the European Green Deal and universal electric vehicles charging standards, we're seeing more charging stations on the roads every day. The infrastructure is growing fast.
Totally. And even companies like Google are making a huge impact. They've updated their search engine to make it easier to research electric vehicles' costs and incentives. Google Maps now even shows nearby electric vehicles chargers and suggests eco-friendly routes that can save fuel or battery life.
Exactly. The combination of better infrastructure and technology is making it easier for people to adopt electric vehicles. It's all about having the right tools and information. Have you heard about Google's Project Green Light?
Oh yeah, I have. That's the project using artificial intelligence to optimize traffic light timings, right?
That's right. I really think it's a fascinating initiative. What do you think?
That's for sure. Project Greenlight uses artificial intelligence to improve urban traffic management and reduce emissions. It surely is fascinating. Google collects data from Google Maps, tracking traffic patterns, vehicle movement, stop-and-go behavior, and even average wait times at traffic lights. By analyzing this data, they create detailed models of traffic flow at each intersection. The artificial intelligence then identifies which areas need optimization, such as spots where traffic is congested or where vehicles experience long wait times.
How does the artificial intelligence actually use that data to improve things?
Great question. Google uses machine learning algorithms to build predictive models of intersections. These models take into account factors like traffic light schedules, how vehicles move through intersections, and how those signals interact with each other. The artificial intelligence can then forecast how changes in traffic light timing, like adjusting the duration of green lights, can reduce traffic congestion and emissions. It essentially simulates how traffic would flow if these changes were made.
So it's like the AI is figuring out the optimal timing for traffic lights.
Exactly. Based on these simulations, Google generates intelligent recommendations for city traffic engineers. These suggestions aim to reduce unnecessary stops, minimize idling time, and even create synchronized green waves, where cars can pass through multiple intersections without having to stop at red lights. This helps not only to reduce fuel consumption, but also to cut down on emissions by preventing vehicles from idling for long periods.
Wow, that's a big deal. And how do cities put these recommendations into practice?
Well, cities implement these recommendations using their existing infrastructure. Google doesn't require them to install new sensors or complex systems. After the traffic engineers adjust the signal timings, Google continues to monitor traffic data in real time to assess how well the changes are working. They then provide ongoing feedback and fine-tune their recommendations, ensuring that the system remains efficient and effective.
That sounds like a really smart use of artificial intelligence. And it's great that it doesn't require huge new investments in hardware. It's a perfect example of how technology can make our cities smarter and more sustainable.
Several cities have started implementing it. In places like Seattle, Boston, and Manchester, they've seen impressive results. Early implementations show up to a 30% reduction in vehicle stops and a 10% decrease in emissions at intersections.
The beauty of it is that Google's artificial intelligence approach works with existing infrastructure. Before Project Green Light, optimizing traffic lights was a costly process. Cities had to use expensive sensors or rely on manual vehicle counts. But now, thanks to artificial intelligence, cities can get smarter, more efficient recommendations for traffic flow.
That's such an important point. So, in Boston, for example, they've partnered with Google to improve the traffic signal timing at certain intersections. They've been able to reduce stop-and-go traffic, which not only saves time, but also cuts emissions.
In the long run, it's not just about making electric vehicles more accessible. It's about creating an environment where clean transportation options, like electric vehicles, can thrive. When we improve infrastructure and leverage artificial intelligence technology like this, it's easier for people to make the switch to electric vehicles. The combined effect of all these innovations is powerful.
For sure! And this is exactly why I'm so optimistic about the future. It's not just about the cars we drive, it's about rethinking transportation as a whole. With innovations like Project Greenlight, the combination of smarter traffic systems and better charging infrastructure is making electric vehicles more accessible, efficient, and sustainable.
And let's not forget the policy changes happening around the world. We're seeing increased electric vehicles adoption, with the global market share of electric vehicles growing. In fact, electric vehicles sales in 2024 surged to make up about 16.7% of global vehicle sales. That's a huge jump from just the year before.
Exactly. Plus, in places like the UK, the expansion of charging infrastructure is also accelerating. The government approved over 120 planning applications for new charging stations, worth more than $500 million. That's going to result in around 73,000 public charging points.
That's impressive. The Netherlands has also set an ambitious goal of installing 1.8 million public and private electric vehicle chargers by 2030. They had already established around 117,000 charging points, making them a leader in Europe's charging infrastructure.
Wow, that's a significant commitment. Germany is aiming for 1 million fully accessible and operational charging points by 2030. The German federal government had invested around $2.6 billion in vehicle charging infrastructure funding.
That's a substantial investment. France is also making strides. France has already installed around 74,000 charging points for electric vehicles.
It's encouraging to see such strong commitments across Europe. The United States is also making massive investments to expand its electric vehicle charging infrastructure, aiming to support the anticipated growth. They have set a goal to deploy at least 500,000 public electric vehicle chargers nationwide by 2030. To achieve this target, the bipartisan infrastructure law allocates $7.5 billion. These efforts are crucial for accelerating the adoption of electric vehicles and building a sustainable future.
The progress is undeniable. With all these advances in infrastructure, tech, and policy, it's clear that electric vehicles are becoming more accessible. And Project Greenlight is just one example of how technology is helping to make traffic control more efficient.
Right, it's all coming together. With the right technology, infrastructure, and policies in place, it's no longer a question of if we can make a sustainable transition, but how quickly we can do it. And the fact that we're seeing so much progress already is so exciting.
Couldn't agree more. The future of transportation is looking greener, and we all have a role to play in making that happen.
Absolutely. Every small choice we make, whether it's driving an electric vehicle or supporting sustainable policies, adds up to a bigger impact. As technology continues to evolve and infrastructure expands, it's only going to get easier to make eco-friendly choices. The momentum is there, and together we can make a real difference.